Morning. Morning.
Morning.
It's 8 o'clock and it's time to start with our lecture. So please turn off the screen of your computers and let's get started. The first thing we're gonna have to do today is to collect the homework. So I'll pass around to get your homework. Any other homework?
Oh. I like
If you were not here on Tuesday, you just registered for the class, please talk to me at the end of the lecture. I haven't been notified of having any other student included in this session, but if you are, let me know. Any questions about what we discussed on Tuesday, the rules for the class, anything, any details, any clarification? No? Good. So today we're going to start with the introduction to project management, and we're going to have a couple of modules for this lecture. The material for this topic is part of your textbook in chapter 1. You can refer to your textbook to get more details about this topic. But before we get started with the material, I always like to list the topics or the course objectives. These are the things that you should be able to do or to understand by the end of the semester. So I just want you to keep in mind these objectives. For instance, you need to be familiar with the project management body of knowledge, which often we're gonna just call them PM book. Understand the applications, issues, and current developments in project management. Also, you're going to learn how to develop statement of work. Something that I didn't mention on Tuesday is that this course is classified as a written intensive course. So most of your homework or labs, case studies will require you to write. Okay, and you're going to be evaluated also based on your writing. So part of that those tasks that you're going to be doing in this class is to develop statement of work, and we will talk about that later on. You're also going to be dealing with building models, and most of these models are going to be in spreadsheets, and those models are going to be used just to make decisions based on several projects. You're going to decide which one is the best project. There will be some qualitative models and there will be some quantitative models. Then we will go and understand and learn how to create network diagrams, and those are the diagrams that we're going to be also inputting into the computer using Microsoft Project. So the agenda for today, We will start by describing what are projects and difference between projects and tasks, projects and processes, and project versus procedures. Then we will basically link project and project management, and we will talk about the difference between project management and general management. And the last thing we're going to discuss today is or are the goals for a project. So the learning objectives for this lecturing specifically is to understand the concept of a project, explain the goals and characteristics of projects, classify projects according to their characteristics, understand the significant difference between project management and general management, explain the three interrelated objectives of budget, schedule, and specification. Often we call that scope. And understand the two alternative project life cycles. And finally, to discuss project selection strategies, including both numeric and non-numeric selection methods. So those are the qualitative and quantitative type of models. So let's start by talking about projects. And we did this briefly on Tuesday. But as a formal definition, a project is or temporary endeavors undertaken to create a unique product or a service. Okay? So when you undertake a project, you're basically trying to get something from it. Most likely it's going to be a product, a unique product, or a service. So it is also a type of work or activity that uses resources such as people, capital, equipment, ideas, and so on. Also, project is requested or needed by customers. This could be a client, this could be a manager from your company. So your customer could be the government, hospitals, the government, business, charity, etc. So you're going to be using some resources, and you're going to be having someone telling you what the needs are and what is requested. And finally, a project has goals. Okay, so it's a type of work activity that uses resources, multiple type of resources. When we say ideas, you need new ideas to create something unique, requested or needed by customers, and has some goals. Projects vary widely in size and also in the type. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you some examples. You'll see some of these projects are mega projects. Some of them are smaller in scale. But they all satisfy these conditions in this definition. So the first project is called the Airbus 380, A380, which is a double-deck wide-body four-engine jet airliner manufactured by Airbus. So by double-deck wide-body, we mean you're going to have two levels. So this, you have people sitting in the second level and also on the first level, and you have some cargo space. This unit started to be produced in 2014, 2004. It's been produced some since then. But as you can see in this timeline, the planning for such a project started in 1991. So it was about 2000, well, 4 when it started to be produced. So it's about 13 years from planning to actual production. Um, Anyone has an idea how much the unit of an Airbus cost? Just guess one number. How much would you pay for something like this? How many? $400 million per year. So you can imagine how many things come into place. Yes, sir. Yes, I believe so. Yeah. So you see, when you have this level of commitment in terms of capital, you need to make sure that you are able to deliver such a unit on time. And just to give you an idea of what are the things that are involved in producing such an airplane, so here it says Toulouse. This is where the final assembly of the Airbus happened. But as you can see, there's a lot of things that are happening on different cities, and you need to plan in order to receive those parts on time for the final assembly. So in this picture, I'm showing you one of the components being transported by ship. So that could be one of these routes here in the process, or maybe this one from here to here. Okay, so project management is important. It's very important, especially when you have such big projects in which you are trying to come up with the final assembly and you're trying to deliver this product, which is very expensive, on time. Another project, this is a construction project. This is the Denver International Airport. And I decided to show you this example because this is one of the project that was delayed for several reasons. So delays were caused by poor planning, so there was no good planning. And there was a repetition or repeated design changes. So once you plan, then you start to see that your planning was not good, so you need to make adjustment. Everything is going to mess up your schedule and the resources that you already have planned. So there was a change in requirements, so that caused to push the opening date back first to December 1993, March 1994, and then there was a strike that also pushed the opening date to May 15, 1994. So as you can see, as a project manager, there will be some things that you can manage and control. You can plan if you do have a good planning or perform a good plan, then you should be able to avoid these repeated changes throughout your schedule. But there will be some things that are uncertain that you are not going to be able to control. One of them is, for example, if you have a strike that keep you out your employees, you're not going to be able to complete your project on time. So you're going to be dealing with multiple things, not only directly related to the project, but also outside the project, such as taking care of the employees that are involved in the project. So any idea how much an airport will cost? Specifically, there's airports that are very expensive. This is one of the average type cost airport. This one is 4.8 billion. Okay. The next project is the city center of Las Vegas, and this is also a large project. This one is very interesting because, again, there were some changes, but you will see how the estimated cost, the initial estimated cost changed. So this is the largest privately financed development in the United States. This was financed by a group of, I think, MGM, and also a group from, it's in India somewhere. So there's two partners in this project. The original cost was estimated for $4 billion, but it was pushed up by the rising construction costs and also changes in the design. So again, this can be controlled, but this is very uncertain. So there will be some things that you need to plan ahead, but you don't have control. The city center opened with 12,000 employees across different projects in December 2009, but the final cost was $11 billion. So as you can see, you started with a budget of $4 billion, and that amount almost 3 times the amount that you started with. That was the final cost of the project. And again, that's why having a good plan, taking into consideration most of the factors, allows you to keep your project on track and also use the money that you have available properly. And then this one is just, I know most of you are familiar with the iPhone. So this is just to give you an idea of timeline from planning to production. So it took almost 10 years from the first meeting to discuss the iPhone until the production. And as you can see, there are several things that were planned and done throughout the production of this device. Some of them are directly related to the product, but some of them are more related to keeping the rights of name and so on. So there are multiple things that you need to plan, especially when you are trying to develop a product that is such as a cell phone, which is a very technical product. Okay, so differentiating the characteristics of a project. So again, projects are temporary. You're going to have a schedule. You know you're going to have a startup time and a final time for your project. So the project starts when the project is authorized and concludes when the project meets the requirements. So at the beginning we discussed the project is going to have some goals. These goals are going to be stated by the customer. So you need to make sure that you satisfy those requirements by the end of your project. Projects are unique. So the work or processes created by projects are different or new. And projects are progressively elaborated, so proceeds in steps or stages. Okay, so those are also some characteristics about projects. Now, I know you have heard this word program, program for mission to Mars, program for space shuttle, or program for the healthcare reform, and so on. So what are programs? Programs are a collection of projects grouped together to reduce complexity of program management. So you have multiple projects under a program. Come to an end when sponsors end the program and the collection of projects are completed. And as an example, it just lists the mission to Mars. Okay, so now I want you to work in groups of 2. This is going to be your first lab. 2 or 3, depends on how you want to work. And for the first lab, I want you to take this handout. You're going to have one per student and read through it. And while you're reading, I want you to identify the reasons why the Toyota Prius was a project. And for instance, you can say this project was unique, and the article mentioned this, just to use a reference from the article. One thing about this article is we're going to use this for several labs, so this is going to be the first time that you're going to read it, but we're going to go back to it when we discuss the project cycle of a project. So try to keep the handout with you and bring it to class. So let me pass this. So you're going to read the article first independently, and then you're going to discuss these questions with a partner or classmate. Yes, 2 or 3. So based on our discussion, what reasons or identify the reasons why the Toyota Prius was a project. Then let me give you, have you identified who are you going to work with already? Anybody? Okay, so because I have another question that I want you to answer, which is, this one is just to get an idea of if you can list some of the reasons that make a project different from a task, a project different from the process, and a project different from a procedure. There's no, this question specifically is not going to be graded in terms of right or wrong. I just want to get an idea of your understanding about these concepts. So let me pass this. So you're going to be submitting a sheet per group. So you're working together. You guys working? You working with someone? With him? You have a team already? Perfect. Work together, the 3 of you. You guys working together? You guys working together? Okay, for the lab, you're going to be working with different people throughout the semester. When you start studying, sorry, the case study. What's going on? There's a cell phone or something. Yeah. When we start working on the case studies, I'm going to be assigning groups. So remember, next week I'm going to be passing the list. So make sure that you find a group of people, 2 or 3 members that work together for the case study. And those groups are going to stay the same throughout the semester for the case studies. For the lab, you're going to be working with different people. Let's go back to the priors. So here, I wanted you to refer back to your discussion. Just answer the question based on the concepts that we learned this morning. So if you put, well, let's start by listing some of your answers. So anyone, what makes the priors a project? Yes, it's unique. So it's a unique project or a unique product. Even though Honda was working on something similar, you know that the product that they were developing was unique. What this product requested or needed by customers, right? So that also makes the price a project. Yes, you have some demand for customers that were looking for options other than gas. Yes, sir.
There was a schedule that we're always trying to keep up with.
Sure. So you have a schedule to follow. And there were some goals, right? Clearly stated. So initially they wanted 47.5 miles. But then they changed that requirement to 66. If I'm not, or they were able to deliver 66 miles. You got it. Okay, so those are 3. Maybe you can enumerate more, but those are some things that I think that this price was a project. Now let's move to the next group of questions. So difference between a project and a task, a project and a process, and between a project and a procedure. Anyone tell me what is a task? That's okay. We'll go through this. It's going to become very clear. I'm pretty sure that you have used these words before, but when you are asked to define it, it's kind of difficult. Again, for process and for procedure. So, project versus task. So projects, again, are complex and strategic. You need to follow a schedule, a plan. Project needs special tools for planning, scheduling, and management. Also, projects create change. Thus, organizations align projects with their investment policies and management intentions. Okay? So now, to compare that versus tasks. Can I go to the next slide? Okay. So the easiest way to define a task is a very simple work effort that you can perform in a very short period of time. So good. So for instance, I can ask you to go and check the syllabus for something specifically. So it's simple work efforts that an individual can perform in a very short period of time. If you go to manufacturing, task could be the packaging procedure, where you put the product at the end, or task could be to inspect a final product. So simple work efforts, they require very short period of time. Tasks do not involve coordination of people. So if you're going to inspect a product, you don't need to coordinate with a group of people to inspect a product. Nor requires capital investment. And tasks do not require any sophistication. Again, they're very simple and very automatic. Now, let's compare project versus processes. Processes have inputs, transformations, and outputs. So if you're looking at a manufacturing process, for example, drilling, you know that you start with a part, you go through the process of drilling, now you're going to have a transformation of your part, and you're going to have a different output, which is this part with the hole. Okay, so that's a very simple example about a process. Processes support the efficient production of high-volume products. In process management, goals and metrics are set up to eliminate variation. You want to keep, if you're performing this process, you want to keep all your parts with the same dimensions, same quality, and so on. And projects use process management to develop routines so that people can manage tasks. So if you're in charge of this drilling process, then you know how to perform the task of operating the machine, for instance. Any questions? Finally, procedures. And procedures are used a lot in the pharmacy industry. You'll find what is called SOPs, which are supported operational procedures. And you'll see that for cleaning, they have a SOP. For, I don't know, you name it, they will have a list or a procedure to perform a specific task or operation. So procedures are work instructions for accomplishing an operation. And you'll see that they are very detailed. They have step-by-step what you need to do in order to accomplish the operation. As an industrial engineer, when I was working for the pharmacy industry, I was asked to create new procedures for some of the operations in the manufacturing plant, and I was also asked to revise some of them. So if you start as an industrial engineer for a pharmacy company, such as Johnson & Johnson, you might be asked to revise procedures and make sure that the workers are performing those procedures as expected. These are useful when work contains too much detail, must be performed in sequence, and is cost intensive. Best organizations avoid rigid procedures and they educate people on the principles. So, for example, in the cleaning of one of these manufacturing machines in the pharmacy, let's say for Tylenol, if you make the workers understand the importance of cleaning one of these big tanks, so if you don't clean it properly, then you're gonna basically damage, let's say, 100 batch of the product. If they don't understand that, then they might not put as much effort as they would if they understand what can happen in the future. So that's why it's very important to understand the principles of why you are trying to keep these procedures and follow the steps. Any questions? Okay, good. So those are different. Now let's talk about project and project management. So again, let's go back to defining a project. Temporary endeavors undertaken to create a unique product or service. And this can vary in size and type. Now, project management is the process of guiding a project from its beginning through its performance to its closure. You're going to guide this project from beginning to end. Okay? Includes 3 operations or activities: planning, organizing, and control. Okay, so you're going to have to perform these 3 activities most of the time if you're in charge of a project: planning, organizing, and controlling. Right? You need to make sure that what you have planned is put into work. Anyone knows the difference between general management and project management? Let's talk about that next. So in project management, every project is planned, budgeted, scheduled, and controlled as a unique task. Okay, so detailed planning is very important. Now, for known projects, the budgets are primarily modification of previous budgets for the same activity in the previous period. So, for instance, if you're in charge of, let's say, of a department in a bank, let's talk about the customer service department, and you have 10 employees under your supervision. You know that for next year you're going to have the same employees, so you're managing these people, you know their salaries, you know what their resources they need. So for next year, it's very easy for you to plan what you're going to be required to manage that department. So your budget, this is general management, this is no project management. You're going to take your previous budget, you're going to make some modifications, and you're going to submit that same budget. Project budgets are newly created for each project and often cover several budget periods in the future. Okay, so those are major differences between known project managers and project managers. For each project, you're going to be creating a new budget, new set of schedules, and so on. The development of a detailed project plan based on the scope and due date of the project is critical to the project success. So this is going back to scheduling, controlling, and planning. So you need to make sure that you satisfy those due dates for the project to be successful. Unlike known projects, projects are often multidisciplinary and usually have considerably need to cross department boundaries. And this is one of the most difficult things when you are managing a project in a company. Because sometimes you're going to need some resources that are not under your department. And you need to make sure that you get to those resources without creating any tension within the group of people. So, boundaries for technology. Information. For example, right now I'm working on a project for this hospital, and there's a group of people who is willing to provide us with some data, but there's another group of people who are stopping the delivery of that information because they think that it's going to affect them somehow. Okay? So now we're in the process of dealing or trying to clarify any questions that they might have, so that will not compromise what they're trying to maybe hide or conserve as privacy. Okay, so information, resources. Sometimes you need an access to a program that you don't have in your computer, and you need to go to a different department to use the computer. Or you have a person who is an expert on a specific field, and you need some information from this person, but this person is very busy. So so on. So you will find these type of things, and that also related to personnel. So crossing these boundaries tend to lead to intergroup conflict. And one of the most important things of a project managers is, if you want to be successful as a project manager, you need to be able to manage conflict. So negotiation is very important. Project managers have the responsibility for accomplishing a project, but no legitimate authority to command the required resources from the functional departments. So you have no say on the resources that are located somewhere outside of your department. The project management must be skilled at win-win negotiations to obtain these resources. Any idea of what the win-win negotiation means? Right. So both parties win. If you're not capable of doing such a negotiation, then you're going to have a lot of trouble. So, yes, functional departments. So, in a win-win, negotiations, both parties must try to understand what the other party needs. In a win-loss negotiation, your savings are the other party losses. This win-lose negotiation. So as you would expect, since you don't have access to all the resources that you're going to need, project managers will spend a great deal of time negotiating. Okay, so I'll stop here, and next time we're going to go over the goals of a project, and we'll continue with this introduction to project management. Any questions? Good, so I'll see you on Tuesday.
Sí,